If every decision is routing through you, you're not just overloaded. You are the system. Your team freezes the moment that your calendar does. This is Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, and I'm Mike Mahoney. I'm going to help you remove yourself as the bottleneck without losing control. Today, I'm going to show you how to map decision domains so that decisions happen with or without you in the room. Now, that's a very important thing. GTLE systems for senior tech leaders who are tired of being the exception handler. There's not going to be any mindset talk here today. We're going to name your decision domains, assign the rights, and tighten your escalation paths. So let's start with the symptoms. You've all seen them. I think you've all seen all of them. Decisions, they boomerang back to you. Architecture calls, priority trade-offs, hiring sign-offs, even incident escalations. You send them out, they come right back. Why? Your leads, they bring you options, but what they're really bringing is a request for you to give them a verdict. And that's exactly what you're trying to avoid, right? You've got a quick question culture. Slack pings that aren't quick. Walk-bys that turn into 30-minute sessions. Now, nobody's being lazy. They've learned from you that the fastest path to a decision is you. And teams stall, not because they're incapable, but because the system trained them to wait. See, waiting is safe. Moving without your blessing carries risk. So what do? Naturally, they wait. But you see, there's something else going on here. Here's what's actually happening. Your decision domains are undefined, and worse, maybe they're overlapping. Nobody understands where their authority ends. So what do? Lucky you. They default to the top. Now, you're the top. You're the leader. So your decision rights are implicit. They live in history and politics. There is no need to figure that out. So last time they tried to make a decision, it blew up. So now, nobody's deciding. That's not a system. That's scar tissue. There's a cost associated with that, of course. So what is the cost? Well, the cost is that you become the limiter. And it's really simple. Every single decision that is made suddenly needs time from you. That means your calendar has a hard cap. There's only so much time you have. So what's the result of that? The organization slows down. You become that sponge for escalation. Disagreement doesn't get resolved between the parties, doesn't get resolved where the work is done. It gets escalated straight to you at the top. And there's some long-term damage here. What is it? Your team learns helplessness. Because if it matters, you just ask the CTO. They stop developing judgment and they stop owning outcomes. Because if your calendar is the routing layer, the organization is going to be optimized to hit your inbox. And by the way, you might be shaking your head going, they're wrong to do that. But I'm going to tell you something. They're not wrong. They're just playing the system. So guess what needs to happen, guys? Guess what needs to happen? Think about it for a moment. The system needs to change. So this is something I want you to think about. If you disappeared for 2 weeks, which decisions suddenly stop? But more importantly, why do they stop? Write those things down. That list right there, that's your diagnosis. Now go back and pull your last 10 escalations. Slack, email, meetings, hell, even hallway conversations. Sort them. Product goes over here. People here. Technical here. Which one of those buckets is overflowing? That's the one, guys. That's your broken domain. Now hold on to it because we're going to fix it. But now you got to build the system. One concept. Decision domain. 3 things make it real. One owner defines scope, clear escalation conditions. Add a time box. Add definition of done. Now, ambiguity is gone. There are just 4 roles, okay? Decider. Got to have 1 person for that. If you have 2, you might as well have none. Input providers give input, not decisions with a deadline. Veto holders are rare. You have to define who they are in the beginning. And you have to set the conditions, the real conditions that exist in order to make everyone else just gets visibility. Now, if you got 2 people and they both think that they own a thing, guess what? Nobody owns that thing. And it's going to escalate right back to you. So, 5 domains, right? Priority is going to be what gets worked on next, right? My old mentor used to say, first things first, second things never. And like that just makes sense. You're only always going to be working on that first thing. And I know you're sitting there going, well, what about priority number 2? But see, if you have a list of 10 priorities and they're in order, number 1, number 2, through number 10, and you work on number 1 and you finish it, guess what happens? Number 2 now becomes number 1, number 3 becomes number 2, etc. down the line. So each time you're working on the first thing first and you're never working on the second thing. Then you have to think about product trade-offs. Like, what is good enough? What's ready to get out there? You're going to need technical architecture. You're going to have to review your standards and make sure that you have regular reviews of those things. Make sure that your team understands what they are. Hell, I'd even put them into writing as kind of, I'm a big fan of SOPs. And so we use ClickUp, and some SOPs work really well inside of ClickUp. Some do not. So here is a huge tip for you. If you're using Google Docs and you have ClickUp, make sure that every SOP has some kind of entry in ClickUp that points back to the Google Doc. Now, the next domain is delivery. How does work move? Who's responsible for code review before something goes live? What happens if during the code review a problem is discovered? And then who gives the thumbs up that it's ready to go out? You see, now I think you're starting to get this. Then the next decision domain is people. So hiring, performance, the design of your team. What do I mean by that? Like, do you need 2 developers or 1? Do you need 5 developers? Do you need a lead developer and 4 developers? You talk that through with your HR department. You talk that through with your CEO. But you make the decision, and then you decide who's in charge of that. Most of the time, it's going to be you. Now, this one's probably not a shocker to most people. Most people problems aren't people problems. They're unclear decision boundaries. So build one domain, give it a name, define its scope, and then assign one person who can decide. Define the inputs with a time box. You need to set escalation conditions. When is something going to go to me? When is it not supposed to go to me? What I used to do is I also had a ladder of escalations. And so the help desk person would escalate it to the help desk manager. The help desk manager then knew to route it to the network administrator or the email administrator or me. Now, we just talked about SOPs. You got to publish where work happens. Okay? It's the simplest, but it's the most overlooked thing. Because when you don't publish where work happens and who's responsible, escalation goes up. But when you do those things, escalation volume, it doesn't even take a moment to drop. It just, boom, it drops immediately. So you're probably sitting there going, well, I was put in charge for a reason. I have all of the skills. I have all of the knowledge. I have all of the authority. Well, the goal is not fewer decisions. The goal is fewer decisions that, here's the key word, require you. Now, I didn't say involve you. I mean, some people like to be copied on things. I personally hate that. But if it requires you in order to move forward, you have a problem and you need to fix that. That is not a good decision domain. So, week 1, you take a moment, you sit down, and you map things out, and then commit to that. 1 page. Now, you have deciders, inputs, escalations, SLA, notes. Like, where do you start, right? Well, like anything else, start with your biggest problem. Then 2 more. Then add SLAs. Because if you don't do that, you're taking the bottleneck from one place, you're putting it in another place. You're taking it from who? You're moving it to when. If you don't build a path, the organization will route around it. And that route is going to always be you. Always. Now, when we get to the second week, you take what you've done with your decision domains and you embed it into your team. You talk to them about the domain that you've worked on, who gets to decide, who gets input, and what exactly triggers escalation. And then you ask them to start applying this to every ticket, every RFC. You don't want them having a million meetings about this either. Cut meetings down to just 2. All right? They're really simple. Decision review, exception review. Everything else is just overhead. Now, pressure. You're going to get pressure from the top. You're going to get pressure from your team. This is where systems break. You have an incident. Executives, they pressure you. They want things done a certain way. And I've lived this. And they don't understand what you've put in place or how and why you've put it in place. So they put pressure on you, and that creates a risk. That risk is that you're going to allow everything to collapse all the way back to you. And guys, whether you want to or not, if you give in to that pressure, everything collapses back to you. And that is the very thing that we're looking to avoid, okay? Prevent it. Don't let that happen. Put in hard triggers. Hard triggers like escalate if risk exceeds X. Escalate if cost exceeds Y. Escalate if you're blocked more than 48 hours. You see, that was a big one for me. I would have team members and I'd give them an assignment and I'd give them a due date and they'd be trying to work on it and it'd be like 5 days would go by and the due date is tomorrow and they would come to me and they'd say, I'm blocked. You're blocked? What happened? And then they explain the story that from the very beginning, nobody's responding to them. Well, why did you wait so long? Well, they waited so long because you didn't tell them that they should escalate if they're blocked more than 48 hours. Now, everything else, that goes to the owner of that decision domain. Be very specific with these escalation rules because if escalation is vague, well, then it becomes political. The CEO thinks that he can come in and step on things and do whatever. And guys, political escalation, it doesn't go down to your team. It flows uphill, right back, straight back to you on your desk, in your calendar, as part of your daily life. Now, let's be clear. You're not losing control when you do this. You're relocating control into a system, and you're designing the system. So you're only going to do things in that system that you agree with. You're the one defining the thresholds. You're the one defining the exceptions. But right now, without these things, you're the execution layer. And by defining thresholds and exceptions, you just stop being the execution layer. And that's going to give you massive leverage because now you're going to be able to do what you were hired to do. You're going to be able to be strategic. You're going to be able to attend executive meetings where you're going to have an impact. You're not going to be stuck in low-level meetings talking about why the color scheme is ugly. You don't care about that. Let those people who worry about that worry about that. So what does leverage look like? Well, you're not going to get so many of those, hey, I got a quick question for you. Or, hey, I need this approved. There's no surprise approvals. Decisions, they get done without you. They get done where the work gets done. Your leads own the outcomes. When you see that happening, that is the system working. Because, guys, if people can bypass that stuff, they're going to bypass that stuff. So, shut down that old path. Don't allow it to go back. Okay? So, here's a question for you. What decision are you still holding? And I'm sure that if you're holding it, it's out of habit. That your organization needs you to release first. Map the escalations. Sit down with this thing. Name the domains. Then assign a decider to that. Set hard triggers. This does this, that does that. Embed it in the workflow. Try it this week to make 5 moves. Because if decisions keep coming back to you, that's extremely non-productive. So make 5 moves this week that are going to help take some of these decisions off your back and put it back where it belongs, in the hands of your staff. I mean, you hired these people for a reason. You put them in their positions for a reason. So act like it. Make sure that you're allowing them to do the job that you hired them for. It's really that simple. And I mean, I keep using the words, it's that simple. And I understand that there are things that pull you in odd directions. And there's not a lot you can really do about that. But if you have a system in place, you can. And see, I think what happens to people is it's like when someone starts a new business. They start this checklist of, now I need to do this, and now I need to do that. And that's not how it works. You don't need to do this and that and the other thing to get a business going. You just need to get the business going. Minimum viable product, right? Well, it's the same thing. If you've got a broken system and you have to fix that system, you're not going to like sit down and like fine tune every single level all at one time. You're going to take it in pieces. You're going to sit down and you're going to say, all right, this is my biggest problem. And then you're going to solve that by putting the decision domain in place. And you're going to wrap that thing in that decision domain. And then you're going to sit down, you're going to roll that out to your team. That's one aspect taken care of. Then you go to the second one. Then you go to the third one. And then et cetera. And you work your way down the list. It could take you several weeks if there's a lot of problems, but most people get this done in maybe 2 weeks. Once you get there, then you're going to have a system running. But don't sit back and think, oh, this is it, I'm done. There's going to be things that are going to need to be tweaked. You know, as good as people are at their job, when you ask them about like, hey, if this happens, when does this usually happen? And how does it come into your purview? How do you know about it? And then they explain it to you. And then you try to come up with a way to like handle that so that it doesn't come back to you all the time. Maybe they missed something. Maybe they forgot something. It's perfectly okay. Adjust on the fly. It's why you have SOPs. Make sure, though, that when you change a process, you update the SOP. Because otherwise, what happens? We talked about it earlier. Everything collapses back down to you. So, guys, if any of this has resonated with you, and you want to know more about this type of issue and how to fix your leadership so that you're not the bottleneck, go to firefightercto.com and take the short, brief diagnostic quiz. It's actually in the process of being updated, but both of them come back to the same results based off of the questions that are being asked. Then after you see that, you'll have an idea of how to fix that. But if you don't know what to do after you see that, or you're overwhelmed, or you just need assistance, come on back here, drop a comment on the video, or perhaps send me a DM on LinkedIn. I am Mike Mahoney on LinkedIn. So send me a DM and ask me for help. You can go to my website, toptiercoachingservices.com, and you can drop a request a calendar entry. Book a meeting. My mind blanked there. You can book a meeting with me, and we'll sit down, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it, free of charge. Then if you like what you hear and you feel like working with me, we can talk about how you do that. So, till next week, this has been another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. This was the final episode of Season 4 of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. Next week and the week after that are going to be best of episodes. And you're going to like them because they're going to approach, hard truths and escalation issues and things like that. And one of them is going to be very, very tactical. The other one's going to be very strategic. So you're going to see some of the best comments from the season, revisit some of the best guests, and it's going to be a blast. So be back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, here on LinkedIn and YouTube. Till then, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and ring that bell notification so you never miss an episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge.